Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jose Barzola. I'm the Conflict and Peace Specialist here at the university. Today's event is about Beyond Bars, Prison Women Speak. We will get started today I'm going to introduce our moderator, Professor Dr. Maya Soetoro, who will take it away. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much to Jose and Peace. He is the Peace Specialist and does a lot of work to connect initiatives on campus with those in community, and also to build bridges internationally with people who are thinking about peace in a variety of ways and justice. So really happy to have you here today. Both those of you who are here live in person and those who are online and watching after the event on recording as well. My name is, as Jose mentioned, Maya Soetoro, and I am part of the Matsunaga Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution here at UH Manoa. And I am so pleased today to just introduce very, very briefly this film, which will speak for itself, Beyond Bars. It is an intimate look at the lives of three courageous and resilient women who were incarcerated in the Women's Correctional Facility in Hawaii. And the documentary really explores not just the ways in which they found, hope and strength in the midst of unfortunate circumstances, how they sort of reconceived family and connected with community, how they nurtured a new sense of self and possibility. And my thinking is that this documentary and these stories are so important for us to not only challenge our preconceived notions and our narrow thinking, but also to think about how we can challenge the carceral system and improve its capacity to really create restorative space and understand the strength, beauty, and gifts of those who have suffered and struggled and are re-entering our communities and have powerful and good things to share and to teach. So today we'll watch the documentary, and then we'll be able to have a conversation with Tadia, the filmmaker, and Momi, who is one of the women represented in the documentary. And again, whether you are online or here in the audience, feel free to think of questions for both of them following my discussion with them. So enjoy the film for now. The voices of women in prison are often quieted, even silenced. With determination, courage, and resilience, the inmates at the Women's Correctional Center of Hawaii wanted to speak. These are a few of their personal and compelling stories.
What led me to criminality as a child, I started as a child, was I needed to feel a sense of belonging. I always wanted attention. I didn't have that in my home. I was always looking for some kind of guidance, and I went to all the wrong places. I was raised in a ghetto part of Mililani on Oahu, and I started hanging out with people a lot older than me, and they wanted me around for all the wrong reasons. I was like an easy target for them to do their dirty work, in which at the time I thought, oh, I was it, you know. They want me to do these things for them, and I was a child at this time, and I felt accepted, and you know, one thing led to another, and I got hooked into that lifestyle, and I became my worst enemy, you know. Eventually, I got pregnant at the age of 14, actually 13, and I gave birth to my first child when I was 14 years old. I was a ward of the state myself. I was in CPS growing up, so when I gave birth as a child, my child also became a temporary ward of the state. So I was just going through my changes in life and trying to, you know, went from being a kid to a mother. So I kind of missed my whole teenage life, and I just jumped into being a parent and trying to do you know, live my life as an adult, as a child. I'm 30. Tomorrow I make 32. I've been in and out of prison since I was 12 years old. I don't think I stayed out of prison longer than 2 years out of my whole, since 12 up until now. When I was 18, I moved to the mainland. I got married to a Marine. Didn't last too long. I didn't stay married for more than a year. Flew back home. I started using drugs in the mainland. And let's see. Well, actually, I have 3 children now. They all got adopted. My 2 babies, well, 10 and 12, live in Vegas, and my oldest one is down here. He's 17 now. He's kind of falling into the same steps as me. For me, you know, I learned a lot about myself in prison. Actually, you know, I've been here since 2011, and my original sentence was only 5 years. They released me to furlough, and I was there for about 5 months, and they were going to send me back to prison for being in a relationship with a federal body. So I split. I ran, and I got caught 99 days later, and they sentenced me to 5 more years. So I've been in prison for almost going on 9 years on an original 5-year charge. So recidivism was me, you know. I didn't even make it to parole, and I picked up another 5 years. So I'm at the ending of my sentence now. So right here now I'm in prison for escape in a 2nd degree. I already maxed out 4 years ago on my original 5-year charge. So, you know, I just look at it as I wasn't ready for the real world. I had a lot I needed to work on. You know, when I first came to prison, I did all my programming immediately. I graduated everything I needed to, but I think I was just looking for the easy way out. I just wanted to do what was expected of me so I could just get out of prison earlier, and it didn't work, you know. I guess I faked it to make it, and I thought I made it, but it was just, I wasn't ready. I didn't really take the time to internalize everything I learned. I was just doing it for all the wrong reasons because I wanted to get out of prison as soon as possible. But now I had time to reflect and think about what my real reason of being in prison is, and focus on self. And now, you know, I'm just trying to make progress. In 2 months, I'm up for parole for the first time, and I'm excited. And I think what do I feel I need to change my life is first and foremost, I need to learn how to love myself. Because if I can love myself, then everything after that will fall into place. It's my biggest downfall. This is not my home.
Right now.
I was born in North Carolina to a Hawaiian mother and an African American father. My mother danced hula on the East Coast, which is how she met my dad. We lived in North Carolina till I was about 7 or 8, which is when I was molested by my cousin. After that, we left my dad in North Carolina and came to Hawaii. That's when all the other troubles began. We went from house to house, staying with family and friends. And through those years, my mom managed to provide for us by working 2 jobs. When I was like 10, we had started drinking. And by 11, I had started smoking marijuana. I was very rebellious as a teenager. I started skipping school my senior year. I started seeing an older woman, 14 years my senior. That lasted about 6 years. She was important to my life because she had our son. We eventually broke up. I was still working, and that's where I met the love of my life. We had a great relationship. In February of 2002, I started using methamphetamine. That was the beginning of my downward spiral. I began selling drugs a year or 2 before I went to San Diego. That's where I caught my first charge, possession of an illegal narcotic. I was arrested and taken to Las Colinas Women's Prison, where I was released shortly thereafter and put on probation. So I came back home to Hawaii. I got into another relationship, which happened to be my former girlfriend's cousin. That led to physical violence between me and the family, which went both ways, and eventually I ended up in prison. I did almost 6 years. I got out in October of 2019 on parole and sent to a program. And eventually I relapsed and they put me back in prison. Okay, so when I get pushed and pushed and pushed constantly, or I feel like something is wrong, I can get violent. Since going to prison, though, I have learned to let things go. Today, I no longer resort to physical violence. Music is my way of coping. I love it. I should have known right from the start, the very first day when I gave you my heart. The love we had, it wouldn't last. Oh no, oh no. But I remember when we fell in love. It was sweet bliss from heaven above. But before I knew it, we were falling apart. I shouldn't blame you, shouldn't blame me. No matter what we do, we can't seem to agree. It's just this endless silly game that we play. All we do is fight, it be blowing my mind. Can't seem to fight this feeling I'm feeling inside. What we had, I put it all in the past. Now all I got to say for that is, I think it's time for both of us to keep it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Cause you and me together just wasn't the deal. Oh no, oh no. If only you were real with me then, the way I was real with you then, you wouldn't have lost this good thing. If only you could keep it real. If only you could keep it real. Oh no, oh no. I have 2 steady jobs. One of my jobs is working with the homeless youth, and it's very rewarding. They need to know that people care about them. My hope is that none of them ever go to prison.
I can't ever remember a time when sewing and fabric and art wasn't a part of my life. My mother was a fashion designer, so I grew up in a garment factory. I've been sewing for as long as I can remember. My Mom always wanted to like instill great work ethic in her children. So nothing was ever given. We had to earn by sewing labels. She also taught me the art of customer service by letting me work in her shops with her and teaching me how to sell and how to market your product. So I was able to learn a lot. That just taught me all of those skills as well as teaching me that work ethic at a very young age. I guess underwhelmed is a good word of the public school system. The 10th grade, I was telling all this to my mother. I said, I just don't really want to go back there. She said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to open my own dress shop and I'm going to use, I had like two main patterns that I had designed myself. I said, I'm going to use these as a basis and I'm going to do this. So she said, well, go pass the GED and then I'll help you do it. So I did. I went up and passed the GED and she helped me start that business. It was called Starshine, and I did custom and off-the-rack resort wear for women. It was like a really good feeling when you just make a woman feel beautiful. So I had the store for 7 years. In that time, I had gotten married and then gotten divorced, and I needed a change. I'd gotten into trying to start this business and gotten swindled out of that business and a lot of money, and I was left broke. My self-confidence was extremely low. And at the time, my neighbor gave me some cocaine to sell, so just so I could pay my rent. I just did that. That was easier than finding a job and having to admit to failure and explain to people why I wasn't doing this business. A little over a year after that, I was in prison. It's very easy to just give up on life after getting locked up. There's not enough opportunity for rehabilitation. There's not enough opportunity to build life skills while you're inside. There's a lot of opportunity to just be an inmate and just be that person. You get into the state where you're depressed, blanket Medicaid in there. Everybody's, because they're low, well, you have anxiety or you have this or you have that, or we'll just give you these drugs and keep you medicating and keep you in this like comatose state because it's easier for them to deal with women in a coma than it is to deal with women with an opinion. Because what can you do? You can't fight. You can just be, and it's hard. And it can be hard to break out of that. Even when you get out, it can still be hard to get out of that mindset of like being that depressed and what do I do now? And now I'm a felon, and now what can I do with life? It wasn't always easy, but every day I reminded myself, this is not your life. This is not who you are. This is just what's happening right now. And this too shall pass. You've got to work hard at staying positive and knowing you have this label. It's not going to stop you. If you want to take something good out of that prison experience, you've got to work hard at it. I was really lucky while I was in there. I was able to earn a culinary degree. I am using that culinary degree. I work in a really amazing kitchen where I get to learn new things every day.
And I also have a small business where I make all natural lip plumping lip balms in different colors. I'm working on a skincare line I want to put out this year, and I sell on Etsy. So my line is called Honi Mamona. It means fat kiss in Hawaiian. And I've got, I think, 10 different shades and plums and reds and pinks and some that are just shimmery and clear, everything. Everything for everyone and meant to look good on every skin tone.
What's really important is for women, when they get out, to regain acceptance of themselves, because if you regain acceptance of yourself and you are able to show that and verbalize that, I think that it's a lot easier for other people to accept you. If you can just show that, hey, yes, I did this, I accept it, now you should accept it. And I find that most people have. I just want to try and lead by example and show other women, if I can do this, so can you. Anything is possible. Prison is not the end. It can be the beginning of something way better. You just gotta believe in yourself. You can believe that, then it becomes true.
More than 740,000 women are in prison around the world. 200,000 of them are in the United States. In the last 40 years, the rate of female incarceration has risen by an alarming rate of 700%. The United States accounts for over 30% of incarcerated women in the world, yet has only 5% of the world's female population. Hawaii locks up a higher percentage of people than wealthy democracies like the United Kingdom, Canada, and France. Though Native Hawaiian residents make up approximately 20% of the state's population, they comprise more than 40% of Hawaii's inmates. Since 1970, the number of women in Hawaii prisons has increased more than 14-fold. 75% are mothers. 40% are Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. 60% are child survivors of physical violence, mental abuse, and sexual assault. In 2021, it cost Hawaii taxpayers over $238 per day to house one inmate. Each year, the cost increases. The sustained and significant rise in women's incarceration is of profound concern. Female prisoners are extremely vulnerable, with histories of poverty and trauma. It causes further victimization for women and their families, suffering for their children, financial burden, shame, increased trauma, social and emotional degradation, and more. Thank you so much. I am really excited to hear from Momi today and from filmmaker Tadia Rice. Want to give you their quick bios. In 2012, Tadia created the Beyond Bars Prison Women Speak in Prison program and spent 10 years volunteering at the Women's Correctional Facility. She created a restoration and rehabilitation program that offered optimal healing with conscious transformation and tools for personal growth, as well as successful reentry into the community. Using educational methodologies, the program did help reduce recidivism, though I'm sad to hear that the other two poignant were either went back to prison or on the run. But we do see that with such programs and with Tadia's program, that there is a greater chance for success because of the skill sets, the mentoring, the employment opportunities, and the overall support. This is Tadia's first film, and it's a testament to her dedication and ongoing commitment. She now oversees the reentry program, Beyond Bars reentry program for women being released from WCC. And it provides a 25-module personal development curriculum and recovery system that addresses, as was mentioned, social and cultural determinants. She has been a global citizen, so I would like to briefly speak to the fact that she spent a lot of time in South Africa. In 2000, she founded the Tahiti Association, which is a nonprofit that fostered the advancement of women and girls around the world by providing educational scholarships, supporting a food program, and a safe house for women and their families in South Africa. The Tahiti Association has also granted educational scholarships to 22 girls and women in 6 countries. She's the vice chair of the Honolulu City County Ethics Commission, and has been honored by the state of Hawaii, City and County of Honolulu, and the U.S. Congress. And she is a noted and valued speaker. Momilani Cody is a graduate of the Windward Community College Pu'uhonua program, where she was awarded academic certificates in counseling, drug treatment, psychosocial development, and community health services. Momi began her college courses in 2018 during her 7 years of incarceration at the WCC, where she tutored fellow inmates towards earning their GEDs and also trained them to be tutors. Momi also earned a culinary certificate from Kapiolani Community College and was released in 2022. As you see, we're very pleased that she is with us today here. And she's now finishing an associate degree and a mental health technician certificate while serving as a part-time Pu'uhonua peer mentor. And this fall, she will enroll at UH Manoa's Thompson School of Social Work and Public Health with the goal of working with youth facing difficulties and using her knowledge and experiences in Mana'o to help others. And Momi is a founding member of Beyond Bars in Prison Project and Reentry Program. So mahalo for being here and for doing your good work. So I guess we start with you, Tadia. So can you perhaps share a little more about the challenges that you faced and kind of telling these personal stories and how you navigated the system, I guess, and how you gained access and how you built trust with the women?
It's a story in itself. I had no intention of ever doing this. I had no intention of stepping into a prison, let alone a women's prison. One of my friends was the chaplain at WCCC in Kailua and kept begging me to come in and meet the women, and I kept saying no. Finally, I relented because I said, if I come in once, will you stop bugging me so I don't have to ever go? She said, yes. I went in once and my life was transformed. And I literally met myself in prison. The women that I met were me. They just made different choices than I had. They weren't different, really, fundamentally. And I realized then and there that I had to do something. And I said to my friend, the chaplain, well, what do they need? Give them what they need. She said, they need education. And I said, well, give them education. She said, well, put your money where your mouth is and you give them education. And I'm not an educator, but out of my mouth fell the words, okay. And that began my effort to then try and figure out how to impact these women in prison. I had been an executive coach. I had worked with leaders. I had a vast background in business and transformation. And I decided I would take the very same programs that I gave to those leaders and just simplify them a bit and recontextualize them. I went into the prison and it ended up becoming drama class and we put on shows. But in doing so, I realized that expressive arts was the key to working with vulnerable populations, with really anybody, children, adults, it doesn't matter. by saying or standing up and saying, let me teach you about collaboration. Let me teach you how to team build. That was just a talking head on two legs. You have no impact. But to say to the women, okay, let's put on a show. Everybody wants to put on a show. And okay, who wants to read a poem? And who wants to write a poem? And who wants to choreograph a dance? And what music should we use? And they created a program that I simply direct. And in that way, it became real for them to learn how to collaborate and cooperate and build a team and try and form something out of nothing based on their ability to make it real. Over 10 years, I did build relationships. And I think a great deal of it was because I didn't go in as a do-gooder. And I didn't go in as, I know more than you, let me tell you how to be right. I went in saying, hey, I'm you, you're me. I got lucky. I made a few better decisions and I didn't get caught. Because in reality, it's who gets caught. Everybody breaks the law one way or another. Speeding, smoke a little weed, do whatever, shoplift as a teenager. Everybody breaks the law, okay? Get drunk, go out and drive, get in a wreck. Your best friend riding shotgun gets killed, you're up for manslaughter. Sell a little weed to a friend, get busted, you're up for trafficking. Get caught shoplifting. There's many ways to get caught. And once you enter the system, it's a maze that you really can't get out of easily. So I'm telling you now, all of you sitting in this class, wherever you are in your life, don't think it can't happen to you, because it can. It is up to you to do two things: make better choices, make good choices, and also make sure that you realize what it takes to go into prison, because it can happen to anyone. So release any judgment you might have and realize that it is on you, your generation, to help your peers to make those better choices. It is you who are the voters who will be passing laws that impact people who are caught up in criminology in one way or another. It's you who will know what happens in the foster care system to children who get put into the system and can't get out, because that's a pathway to prison. So know you have power, exercise your power, and know that you're no different than anyone else. Make better decisions, make good choices, and you will be the leaders that will help people avoid going to prison.
Thank you, Tadia. Momi, I'd love to turn to you and ask, you to share with us how it felt to see your story up there for the first time. I mean, you share a lot that must feel vulnerable, but also kind of empowering. We see that you are someone who loves. We see that you're someone who, has struggled and to some degree really succeeded with anger. We see that you are someone who feels deeply and who works with young people well. So just tell us a little more maybe about how it felt to see that and what message you hope folks will take away from your story.
The first time I saw the video, I was appalled. I was like, I didn't believe there. But she captured a lot of stuff, but then I listened to it. But I learned long ago, the more I talked about it, the easier it was to deal with things. Like, it didn't bother me so much. When I held it in, that's when it bothered me a whole lot. But the more I talked about it, it was easier to deal, so to speak, right? Then I went to prison on my first felony. It was my first felony, and I went into jail thinking, I'll be out in a couple days. A couple days came, a couple days went, a couple weeks came, a couple months, and I was like, oh, I'm not going home now. I got into a fight. That's what had happened. So I got into a fight with a bunch of people, and 3 of those people got hurt. And So I was the one charged with assault. So my first couple years in jail, I was mad. I was pissed. Like I didn't feel like I belonged there. So I just I did broke all the rules. I bucked everyone. And then I went to women's prison. And when I got to women's prison, I met Larson Medina, and he kind of changed things for me. He put me into all kinds of cultural programming, and things started to take shape from there. I joined the college classes, and then we nicknamed her class drama. You know, that was our idea. But it was a way for us to express anything we wanted. Whatever she threw at us, we had a way to express it. And we ran with that. We ran with it. It was like, it gave us this sense of like power. We're in a prison and yet we run this shit, you know? That's how we felt, you know? And it'd take us out of that space. But the moment we step out of prison, we step into parole's hands, that's where things get a little shaky. Like we did all this successful things, like the tutoring and stuff, that right there, there was mixed emotions about how we may accomplish that, because no one expected us to succeed, and we did. We exceeded expectation. On top of that, governor came and recognized us. Not everybody liked that, and that was kind of shitty. You know what I mean? Like, just because we're inmates doesn't mean we don't deserve that same recognition, you know? And so coming out, dealing with parole, it was as if none of that good stuff had ever happened. Like Tiana Soto, she came out to the same nonsense she had left behind when she went in. And that's why she's on the run now, because she's struggling. She resorted right back to what she knows. Same with Zoe. And Zoe is fabulous. You guys don't even know. You guys should try her lip balms. They're great. My mom, them all have it. But they actually make your lips plump. Strange. But no, yeah, but she makes all types of things, and she's a great cook. She works at a great restaurant. But it's expensive here. It's expensive to live here. She's constantly having to check in with the parole, and they interrupt your life. So she resorts to what she knows, right? And then you get all you need is one person to be jealous or want what you have, and they'll put you back in prison. Or if she talked to me, only when we were sitting up on tables like this was she not in trouble. But if we were caught talking outside of this room, she would go back to prison, which is really silly, you know? So that's the type, I buck them all the time. That's why I do these talks. I buck HBA, I buck programming, because most of them are textbook, and not saying that any of you plan to go into that field, but they are what we call textbook chronics. You're a textbook expert. You know absolutely nothing about what it's like to be incarcerated, to be a former addict, to be homeless, and yet you want to sit and tell them what it is they need. How? How do you know? If you've never walked in those steps, how do you know what they need to get better? The textbook told you, you know? And that's like my goal. My goal is to, I don't want to work with adults because I feel like they're too set in their ways. And that's the message I send to kids, you know what I mean? Like, look them over there. You know, do you want to end up like that? So we should probably do something a little bit different, you know what I mean? And hope that they take that and run with it, you know what I mean? Other than that, to this day, and I'm off paper, to this day I deal with HBA. And I still buck them. I walk in their office ranting and raving, yelling at the top of my lungs. You can't do nothing to me. I'm not, you know, I'm not part of the state anymore. And walk away. But they could take me for harassment or whatever. Go ahead, harass me. I don't care. You know? But it's difficult, you know.
The system is so punitive, and it continues to be punitive. Parole is punitive. If I were queen of the world, prison would be a hospital with a college in it.
That'd be wrong too.
Yeah, well, but anyway, because people who have addictions, they have diseases, they need to be medically treated.
What is the definition of insanity?
Exactly.
So tell me, how come this is parole for you? Go to prison, whatever you did, right? if it's associated with drugs, you're mandated to do a program. All their lives, this person in and out of jail program, in and out of jail program. So now they did this long stretch and they come out. Why send them to program? That's the same. You're just continuing the cycle. You're not breaking the cycle. So I call parole is a setup. Straight up. Parole is a setup. Everybody gets the same. But what if we work differently? You know what I mean? What will catch me probably won't catch her. So one of us is bound to fail. You know what I mean? They did that for like my soon-to-be ex-wife. She runs from everything. When things get hard, she'll check herself into program or try to go back to jail. And they just did it to her again. She went back in on a violation. She came out. They stuck her in a place that she wasn't comfortable with. So she checked into a program. And look, she's right back in jail. Right back in prison. She's 34. My wife is 34. She's been in prison for at least 20 of those years. She was on the street from 11. Nobody digs it. That's another thing. Nobody digs into their background. And I feel like that's all programs and parole's problem. They don't get to know the people they're working with personally. That's how Tadia succeeded with us. Because at first we were like, oh my gosh, she's so bossy. She just was annoying. But then when she got to know us and we all communicated on a personal level, it was like so much better. I mean, and that's what most organizations and people should do. Whether you're a counselor, a therapist, you got to get to know people on a more personal level so that you can genuinely help fulfill their needs. You know, because if not, you're just feeding them some bullshit that you've done fed every time they can hear it comes through.
It's especially sad when teenagers fall into the system or children, foster care. You only know one way of doing something, and it's being controlled by the state or by somebody, something else, some system. And then you get busted on something and you go to juvie. Okay, so you know what juvie's like. You get up at a certain time, you eat at a certain time, you sleep at a certain time, you take a shower at a certain time. Then, you get out, you mess up because it's all you know. You haven't had the life skills taught to you. You don't have a healthy value system necessarily that you've been exposed to living. You get busted for something. Now you're in jail. Then you go to prison. You know when to wake up. You know when to go to sleep. You know when to eat and take a shower. You have no freedom. And so you don't get to think a whole lot of independent stuff. So now you spend your adult life in an environment like that. And then your time is up. They walk you to Kalana on the highway and they say, okay, don't come back. Go. Where do you go? You don't have a house, you don't have ID, you don't have your birth certificate, you have no identity because the system has not set it up for you and they have not prepared you. So what do? You hitchhike, you thumb a ride, you turn a trick, you get some cash, you score some dope, whatever. The system has to change. And Hawaii has one of the worst systems there is. You see by the statistics. So if you think it's bad for men, it's worse for women. And the worst people to suffer in the female demographic is gay women because they're identifiable most of the time. So the cops like to pick on lesbians.
I just said, just to being a friend, you know why I go to school? And I've told them all that. I said, you know why I want a degree? So you guys have to take me seriously. That's it. You know what I mean? Because everything you guys think we're dumb or, we just don't have that. But I was just as smart before I got that piece of paper. A piece of paper just makes it to where you're going to take me seriously, And that is the only reason, because I couldn't stand school. Couldn't stand it. And then it's like, the more I achieved, the more they were listening. It was like, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take for me to get this piece of paper for them to start actually, okay, what is it you have to say, Miss Cody? Like, oh, finally,
Education is the pathway out. And education costs money, as you all well know. So it's a catch-22 scenario all the time.
It's nuts. I sat out last semester, so I went through some life-changing, life-altering events last year. And I failed one semester, so I'm behind a semester. So I sat out to kind of get my ducks in a row. And I'm trying to come back next semester, because I'm almost done. I'm like this close. It'd be idiotic to not try and finish it, right? But funding's always the problem. So if it wasn't for like my halal, I dance hula, and all the ladies in my halal who are part of Rotary, I wouldn't be able to finish. And their support is key to, like, even the girls, those I talk to most of the girls who come out, so they know they can call me. And if they need help with getting into school, I encourage that. I'll take you over there. Matter of fact, give me your info, I'll fill it out for you, kind of thing. But I encourage them to do those things, and being a, why, you think so? Yeah. I mean, even if you can't, it doesn't hurt to try, you know, kind of thing. That is really important, like, because most of them don't have no self-confidence whatsoever. They come out and they're already on that path to, okay, what we're gonna do to get in trouble, you know, kind of thing. So having some kind of support when they come out, that's like golden. Because the prison don't care where you go. We've had girls get released and dropped off at homeless camps, or just let out the gate and left to figure it out, you know. I have my number on the wall in the prison for them who are coming out and don't have a ride. And so they could call me. But that is like something to this day that even the system, they don't agree with us. And we don't care. We're gonna get rid of paroling authority. I told them that one day when I get my degree, I'm going to dismantle your whole thing, because I don't agree with them, you know. And they just laugh at me, but that is my ultimate goal. I want to demolish HPA. I can't stand them for real. And just like create something that is to show them, like, now, had you done things this way, idiots, maybe we wouldn't have had all this bullshit before, you know? Because I mean, it's ridiculous. Talking to people, you send people back to prison, like, really? That they live together in the same house, but they kind of catch the bus together. That is ridiculous, you know? Then you wonder why they run away and to go do whatever it is they do. But yeah, that's the kind of things they go through.
Can I actually ask, thank you, that was a lot of really good insight. So one thing that I heard is that, you know, there needs to be an opportunity to change the way that you look at yourself, change the way you name yourself. You know, it's not a shift in identity necessarily, but it's a way to hold your identity in a new way, so that you're not just following the same patterns. I heard that you need more supports, obviously, for reentry. You need to be more humane, compassionate, to have places for folks to go, to shift or dismantle the parole system. I heard also that within the system that there is a need to honor the stories, and for anyone working with incarcerated individual to really get to know them, to understand all of their human dimensions, to be curious. I heard also that there is a need to, you know, to kind of ensure that that some of the supports that exist within, when you're within the system, that those folks can continue to support one another outside of the system. What else am I not naming, you know, in terms of how we might begin to impact the system, to change the way things work, to offer supplementary services, to offer resources, you know, to offer movement building, to offer recognition and aloha. You know, what else do you think is needed to make a real difference, and how can we help?
One thing that could be done is support the Taharai Association, because reentry costs money. We need interns to help. We need fundraising to raise money. To do reentry, you have to have a house. There's no housing. And if you can get a house, you can't afford it because housing is so expensive. So supporting nonprofits that do the work is what's important. Now, I know you're all students, so you don't have a whole lot of money to give to fundraisers, but if anybody would like to intern for a nonprofit, we are happy to have you. Talk to other people. Let them know more about what folks in prison are experiencing to change the perception. That's one of the biggest things. We need to change the perception of people who are in prison, because they're going to get out one day. Their kids are playing with your kids. They're going to school with your kids. They're your next door neighbor. So to be able to re-enter society as a full citizen, a contributing citizen, needs the support of other citizens. So that discrimination, that bigotry that exists about people who, been in, we have to get rid of that. Because stereotypical stuff still exists. Orange is not the new black.
See, for me, I've been with Tadia for a while, since we met inside, and I always try to revamp. And we talk about this all the time. The curriculum, yeah, the classes, that is scary. Like, they hear classes, they don't want to come, right? So I took what she had sent me and I created something that we learned. Everything she listened, her 25 curriculum is you're actively learning it through the work that's offered. So I want to make more of a, when they walk out to a place to stay. They walk out to a job, because I do a lot of side jobs. That's like my trip. I like to help people all the time. So I do all types of jobs. You guys wouldn't believe. From cutting trees to mowing your lawn to cleaning Airbnbs. I make clothes now. We print like shirts, and my friends, I asked them to send me like, what, can you draw something, and if it sells, then they get the profit from that. And most of them are homeless, so that's how they make money, through me. And we help you, help me, help us, kind of thing.
And we're taking everything online now, because it's hard to do a brick and mortar. What's your schedule? You're working 2-3 jobs. What time do you have to go somewhere to attend, a class? It's a great curriculum, but it's all going to have to go online, because everyone's got a phone. You can get education on phone. You can learn. So we're packaging the online learning into short pieces where you get delivered the information easy, in pieces, in chunks. So we're working together and doing a lot of innovative things.
Yeah, basically we gotta create some kind of stability on the out. I've been out since May 2022. I still don't have a steady place to stay. I stay at my grandma's most of the time, or my Hanai sister's house. But as for a place of my own, I don't have that. And part of it is because it's really expensive. I was staying at this place in Kalihi for a while, but paying rent on my own wasn't happening. $2,600 because I had my brother and my sister. When they lost their jobs, yeah, it wasn't happening. So we tried to get a smaller place, but then by that time, the credit checks go. I have no credit. I was in prison for 7 years and never ever attempted to get anything with credit.
Yeah, discriminatory practices. Can't get a bank account, can't get a credit card, can't do those things, because every application, you look closely and see, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Bingo, you're screwed. So the system is not set up to support people who are different than mainstream America.
I think basically, like, from where you're sitting now, the best thing, the most that anyone can do is provide, I guess, moral support in a way. Like, at her functions, just that your presence says, oh, look, these people support that, you know what I mean? And the girls seen that as like, oh, this people is here for us. Like, yeah, there's people out there working for you guys. Yes, you don't see them, Like, we have them trying to make their IDs. Do you know the state has ID machines in all the prisons, and yet they still walk out without their IDs? Makes no sense.
That's a whole nother story. Go down that rabbit hole and you'll be disgusted about where you're.
If they don't have their IDs and stuff within the first couple of weeks, then they can't work. So where do you expect their money to come from? the $200 they get from welfare, like, how much does that cover? Could you imagine you have to live a month on 200 something dollars? A whole month now, that's supposed to sustain you. How right? I mean,
Systemic,
Yeah,
it's
it
a
don't work.
systemic issue. It's gonna.
anybody have any other questions? Go for it, Ben.
Yes, I have to leave, but
Go for it.
first of all, thank you guys. Really appreciate what you guys are doing. My question is, cause I'm from the west side
Yes, sir.
and like, McCall Elementary where I went elementary at.
I went to elementary there too.
Let's go. My friend actually works there and he just reported this past semester, there's like a 1 in 4 students are marked as chronically absent, like they're not showing up so many days of that semester. And my question is like, how do we, like, since what you guys are doing are trying to like focus on the youth,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? How do we implement like, or like, how do we stop idolizing like
The
certain mainstream?
neighborhoods,
You know what
yeah?
I mean? Or,
Yes.
like, how do we make?
We gotta
it
talk to the dummies
interesting?
running around with the guns, first of all,
Thank you.
yeah? Cause when I was growing up, I never was scared to walk the streets. I'd walk the streets and I went to Mackay Elementary,
Right.
you know? But now people are afraid to let their kids outside. Like my nephew, them, they don't have very many friends. They didn't know their neighbors. I knew my neighbors. I knew the neighbors across the street, down the road. I was yelling, out there, so stay home. You don't see that. People are afraid. And West Side, they're losing their minds down there, you know? Honestly, I can't even, like, I don't know what to tell you. But as for our kids not going to school, that's a problem, you know what I mean? Now, because you're creating the kids that are out there making trouble right now. But
My
not,
question was like, since you guys were interested in the prisons to learn, like, how do we implement that to our youth? You know what I mean? Like, get
Yeah.
them more involved in wanting to
To
learn.
sort of stop the school to
yeah,
prison.
you gotta
pipeline.
create like
Yeah.
programs. I wanna work with the youth, that's my thing. And I wanna teach them like cultural dance. That's what it was for me in prison, that's why. We would put on these cultural shows where we would dance hula, we do the Kahiko, Tahitian, Haka, and it's an amazing feeling, you know? I've done it with a little group of kids, teenagers in Pearl City, and same reaction, like, I took these hothead boys and now they wanna learn the Haka, they'll learn another one, you know, and they get to perform them and they just get this feeling of like, yeah, that's solid. But
That makes sense to me because I think not only are you engaging in cultural expression where you're calling in your ancestors, you're calling in your
Mhm.
community, your identity, you're
it's
talking about like
reconnecting.
naming yourself, you know, in new ways, but also just the bodily, you know, I believe in embodied social
Yeah.
justice, right? So
So-
how do we get rid of, it's, you know, trauma? It's through moving the
Yeah.
body and how dance and expression and song, music, you know, that creates a reverberation, right? And it gives us a sense of well-being and helps us to process, to let go of anger, to, you know, to
Channel all of that.
feel
Yeah.
connected, right? Yeah.
But yeah,
Makes
that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I would go over there and I would put on some kind of cultural show and they'd all have to participate. But
Yeah.
that just bring them back, kind of like, okay, bring your head out the clouds, come back
Right,
down.
right, right.
Yeah.
You're rooted, yeah.
In Hawaii and many other places, culture is the key for delivering information and for healing. One thing you can do is, as trite as this sounds, write your Congress people, write your council people, write your legislators, see them, talk to them, be visible. Be visible, because a lot of people don't do anything, barely vote. But when you're in their face and you say, I want to talk to you about what's happening in our prisons, they have to listen. They have to listen. Take the legal steps that you have the right to and use them, use your voice. It's important. Are there any other questions? I know we only have about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you so much. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
I also have, oh, sorry.
You said that once people are in the system, it's hard to get out, right?
Because you're kind of like locked in, yeah.
Right.
When you walk out of a prison, you walk into parole, because unless you're maxed out. And they dictate you, it's not like all you did was walk into an open prison.
You're still in prison when you're on parole, by
Yeah,
the
because
way.
you still gotta check in.
When you're on
all
parole,
kinds
you're
of
still
things.
in prison and they can snatch you anytime and take you back.
What needs to change in order to like change or what needs to change in order?
They need to start giving up. They need to start caring.
Well, you mentioned the paroling authority versus like judges, if judges have that.
So in Hawaii, we have, it's almost like a double sentencing. You get charged with your crime, you sit at OCCC, wait for your trial, and then you get sentenced. The judge sentences you, say, so 20 years, you get 20 years. You still have to wait to see parole board, and parole board is gonna tell you how many of those years you're gonna actually have to serve. So, for example, Chantal Andrade, she was convicted of she hit somebody, hit and run. And she's fled the island, but she came back, she turned herself in. They gave her 10 years. 1 year early release to program. She'd only have to do 1 year and get released if she did a program. So she tried to do a program. She didn't succeed, they put her in prison. 10 years was her charge for running that man over. She only had to serve 6 years from the board. That means she was eligible for parole within 6 years of her sentence. She got a reduced sentence, so she was let out in 4, right? So why the judge couldn't give her mandatory minimum? Why we gotta see them, the paroling authority? And when they do paroling authority, when they come in and do so I'll use my own case. When I walked into there, they're reading the paper, and now they're telling me, you are a menace to our society. You have disrespected your family, and I'm sitting there like, who the fuck are you talking to? Because first of all, you know nothing about my family. You don't know what happened in this situation. Mind you, my situation, this is how it happened. I was sleeping. We had fought the day before. I woke up to my ex-girlfriend, her husband, and her brother, all drunk, pissed drunk. They wanted to fight. I came in, we started fighting. 3 of them got seriously injured. I have 5 victims in my case. And me, I thought I was gonna win. That's why I thought I was going home. That's self-defense, clear cut. There was me, and then there was all of you, but it wasn't. Hawaii has what's called mitigated self-defense. Whoever's injury is more substantial. So because I beat them up, I gotta go to prison, but they were attacking me. That makes no sense, right? I was sentenced to, my original sentence was supposed to be 10 years, right? I was sitting on 2 10s and a 5. And I pleaded out, so I made a deal with the state that they would drop my 1st-degree assaults to 2nd degree, and I'd only have to serve 5. And I still ended up doing 7 because they didn't give me credit for the 2 years I sat and waited for them to take me to trial. So our system is like all messed up because the judge gave me my sentence, and then parole board just tacked the time right on top of it because they're the ones who decide how much of that time you do, how much of that time you get credit for, and yeah.
Yeah,
It's messed up.
so I have a case where I testified for this individual who was a meth baby. Of course, was finally addicted to meth by 14 because she's a meth baby. You can't be a meth baby and not get addicted in your adolescence.
You can.
So she, anyway, so she got busted. She went to jail for a while. Then she got out. She got busted again for being with someone who'd been on meth, even though she wasn't on the meth. We went to court. I testified on her behalf. The judge said right there, if I could, I would simply give you parole. You've proven you're a contributing citizen. You've proven who you are. You're not this person over here, but I can't do that. So I have to give you 2 years by law. So she gets 2 years. She's in WCCC right now, waiting to see the parole board. How many years do you have to wait to see the parole board? So
3 months.
yeah,
You wait 3 months from the
supposed to be.
moment you step in, and you can grieve that. If you're not seen within because they have 90 days to give you your minimum, or you can grieve it. You know what I mean? Most people get reconsideration if they're not seen within 3 months. And reconsideration means that your sentence is overturned and you're sent back to OCCC to await to see a judge again. And sometimes it's it's a good thing because then you'll end up with probation, but probation is a setup too. I recommend people who go in to ask for their open. And what? Like you're asking to go to prison. That's what I did. I didn't wait for them to put me on probation and keep revoke, because every time you mess up on probation, they revoke it and restart it. So my auntie, she did 17 years on a 5-year charge because she in and out, in and out. So every time she goes out and comes back in, revoke, reinstate, revoke, reinstate. So your time just goes on and on. Parole, on the other hand, your time stops when you walk out. When you walk out of prison, your time is still rolling, but it's not like probation. If
The
you
clock's
come
not
in,
gonna start again.
yeah, it's not gonna reset. When you come out, it just kind of pauses, and if you mess up, then it goes again, you know?
Now
But,
think
like,
about the numbers you saw in the film. How many people are in prison right now? WCCC, OCCC, Lava, you name it, Maui, Kauai, all the prisons that we have. And how many parole officers are there? How many parole boards are there? Say that, Leslie?
5 parole board members and 1 parole board for all of those.
For the islands.
yeah, that's for the board, yeah, but not for the actual officers, yeah.
Not the officers.
Yeah.
But for the board, who gives you your additional sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's a difficult scenario, it's complex, it's multi-layered.
What is the purpose of a parole officer? What is their purpose? Because, I mean, the goal is for them to transition back into society as regular members of society, right? Do you guys have somebody who dictate all your moves in your regular life? I mean, I'm just wondering. Because how are they transitioning if they got somebody who's constantly pulling strings? They're not becoming productive members. They're still being puppets, you know what I mean?
So it's more controlling than supportive, like. it
Yeah.
should be.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I have some questions that are coming online, so we'll get to as many of them as possible. There are many aspects of success while incarcerated. Based on your experience, what other programs that you haven't mentioned, education or training, would be most valuable to success stories within the facility as well as
I'm
transition?
telling you, culture stuff is that's the one.
I can also say, aside from cultural depth, the Women's Prison Project, which was started about 2 years ago, and which one of my co-members is in the room here, has started a craftsman program with the union. We got the union to go in and teach women how to be woodworkers and craftsmen. So while they're
Like a
in prison,
makery.
they're going to learn that. Actually, Maya is also part of Women's Prison Project. There's several skill sets that have been brought into the prison, new because there's a new warden, the first ever woman warden in the state of Hawaii for the women's prison. And that has changed a lot of things. It won't change the system, but it's changing how at least WCCC is humanizing itself a little bit more. So there are these new programs coming in. I hope that answers part of it. I can't name them all, but there are several.
And I think the storytelling, right, is a big part of it, right? And not only is that what I hear from you in terms of the Beyond Bars reentry program, but other spaces that when there's an opportunity to, whether it's through Salt Mele or, you know, whether it's through plays, theater or poetry, or in some way, you know, having this sense of voice, you can kind of begin to imagine a different future, express your sorrow in order to process it, you know, help identify your hunger so that you can reach for those needs. So that's one thing I heard.
Time is what you make of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's some people go in there and they do nothing with their time. A lot of us, like myself, I was in every college class that was ever offered. I did all of Colleen's classes. I did all of Felicia's classes. Like they know me on campus. And I made good use of my time, and I try to encourage others. Sometimes it's not so, and the ACOs they can be a headache sometimes. So, you know, all kinds of things go to play inside, but to actually have them, because when COVID hit, we all was like depressed, but then some of our teachers, they sent in our work. So it's like to have that constant it's a good way to channel, and they turn out a little bit more better, you know?
One question is about whether the University of Hawaii is directly involved in policy making and changes. And as a university professor is here, I wanted to know, I don't know. Do you know?
So I don't think that UH is integrally involved in any kind of policy making or shaping. I know that there's several people, Dean Denise Conan, who are on the Women's Prison Project, and of course, Women's Prison Project has put forth several policies. I think that, to be honest, UH Manoa has done a really poor job of being involved. Windward Community College has stepped up a lot.
Yeah.
Manoa has not. I run a creative writing project at Women's, but that's just volunteer, so it's not, you know.
Systematized and beyond your
Yeah.
presence there.
Yeah.
So there's more that can be done. So
Yeah.
you, as members of the UH community model. And then the last question I think we have time for is, I'm gonna kind of double up. One of the things, one of the questions is, look, thank you so much for the opportunity to gain insight from your lived experience. I care a lot about the humanity of young people. I have young neighbors, including college students who are engaging in clear illicit activities. It's been going on for the past few years. I'm trying to figure out, like, what can I do to thoughtfully help these neighbors? What would you recommend?
That's it. If they don't bother you, just don't bother them. I say this because, like I was saying earlier, the streets is
Keeping it
dangerous.
real.
Yes, but we keep it real. Like sometimes stay out of people's business. That's the safest thing to do. If they are not bothering you, leave them alone. Let the law deal with that. You know what I mean? That's how people get killed, is they be butting their noses into things that have nothing to do with them. So what? So what? It's, you know, it's illegal. If it's not directly affecting you, let it go, for real. Like, and I mean, I'm not saying that because of like being dicks or anything. It's safer. It's safer for everybody, really, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, not knowing the
Some
circumstance.
people deserve to go have a timeout and they just gotta sit down and think about what they did. So let them, you know? Because you could get hurt and if you try to address it the wrong way, you know what I'm saying? That's the truth. If it's the same thing, legislature asked me, how do we get them to use more resources? That's easy. Stop asking them about their drug use. Hey, you want people to use your stuff. That is because that's the biggest issue is drug use causes people to, oh, okay, we're not gonna help
And there's a
them.
long history with those
Yeah,
drugs.
yeah.
So, I mean,
60%
yeah,
of the
if it's
women
not
in
your concern,
WCC are there for mental health issues. But there's no mental health support. Look how bad it is in the state already. Look at our homeless. This is all mental health. So as long as they keep cutting programs for mental health and not allocating mental health support and assistance and drug assistance, our society has got to elevate how it treats one another,
Yeah.
how it treats us.
So I just want to be mindful, I'll get to you a second. We can stay, a few minutes more, but our time is paused. So I just want to make sure that those of you who need to leave, because class has ended, that you feel free to do so. Your professor can cue you, but I also, if there are additional questions, I'm sure that, Tadia and Momi would be happy to answer them via email. If you want to email me at Soetoro, SOETORO, at hawaii.edu, I can pass those on. I just wanted to, mahalo you as we close for your honesty and your passion, the clarity of purpose. And I do think that, we need, as part of the mindset shift, to think about how these humans are precious human resources in our beloved community, you know, and whether it's through restorative practices, you know, reconnection, rerouting, as you said, you know, kind of highlighting the strength of gift and making sure that we are not wasting, you know, our precious people. And that we can learn also about building community and family sometimes, you know, from those who have lost things. There are things that we can learn, not just give, although let's give plenty. But thank you all for being here and for listening and for your sharing.